Haymaker Coffee Company was established in 2021 to create the best coffee to fuel the underdogs who perseveres, who hustles, and have the give-it-all mentality to achieve their American dream. Haymaker Coffee only roasts top quality, specialty grade coffee beans, resulting in brews that satisfies those who demand every drop from their coffee and day. If you work hard, run hard, fight hard, and play hard, we have your coffee right here.
And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day as we roll along in February. Really good stretch of golf. Maybe for me, although I admitted some of my maybe poor attitude about the AT&T at times yesterday on the podcast. A wonderful stretch of golf. I love the West Coast golf. I love what's coming here at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. This is an elevated event, star-studded field. I'd love Riviera next week. So we got to bring our guy back here, Ryan Noonan, who this new backdrop, I got to tell you, I mean, look at this, folks. For those watching, 16, the par 3, fully enclosed. Before we get to the Waste Management Phoenix Open, Ryan, how are you? And secondly, are you a AT&T guy, Pro-Am, 3 courses? Where do you land?
Travis, always good to be back. My favorite people to talk golf with, and we are typically often aligned. Hit some winners here, so I feel like this is a good spot to run stuff up against you this week. So I'll start with the AT&T thing. It's just one of the most beautiful pieces of golf property that we have in this country, and we've like bastardized it with the events. And I feel like it's such a gaping spot with like this shift now in terms of like the NFL having a 17 game schedule and that being like the spot where there's no football on the weekends. And I would love to just be able to showcase it in a different way. And I understand the appeal of being able to make it a Pro-Am and the Hollywood element of it and being able to, bring folks in, and you obviously need to do that at a multi-course track because you never get the golf in. But I just would love to see Pebble in a different way. I'd love to see Pebble later in the schedule. I'd love to see just Pebble and not have it be with, Spyglass and Monterey. Like, they're great courses. There's a ton of great courses in that area, obviously. Sure. But man, like, Pebble deserves to be in an elevated event. I would love to see this field there. Right, like that's such a crap field, and I understand why some people aren't wanting to get into 6-hour rounds and deal with the logistics that comes with the multi-course rotation. So I love Pebble. It's not a great watch on TV just because like they want to show us a lot of Jason Bateman, who I love. Ozark's a great show. Do I want to see Jason Bateman shoot like a dozen shots? I don't really want to see Jason Bateman shoot a dozen shots, but like, do I want to see the rest of that field? I really don't. So that kind of sucks. That's kind of where we're at. I would love to see them do something different, but sounds like the event coordinators are pretty locked in. Like that's going to continue to be their spot. They don't want to move it. They don't want to change the Pro-Am elements. And it's too bad. I would love to see it later in the year with a locked in field.
Yeah. It's, and this is Maggie. She's at work here with me today, folks. So you can see there, she's the boss is at work today with me, but it is locked in. It's a great venue for the PGA Tour to entertain title sponsors, where they can get them out there. They're part of playing. It's a spot for the core audience, right? It's for the core audience. It's a little bit of old school golf. And for those that, like myself, who like to see the game progress and move along, like we're going to see this week, I think we tend to probably poo-poo on it a little bit, and we're just kind of worn out with the celebrities and all that. It's one of the best courses we know in the world. The views are second to none, but it's from a field standpoint and from a champion standpoint and from all the things that golf courses maybe want to put their mark on and those types of things, it just kind of falls short. But I will say, when you look at this many tournaments, and Jeff Feinberg brought up a lot of good points, kind of got me thinking, this many tournaments, why not have a week that's maybe just tailored towards, all right, titled sponsors and your core audience, your core TV audience, which makes sense. And then you can turn around and you can do something completely different the next week. And the Phoenix Open, which is now you're going towards a different type of audience and trying to get them in. And you're going to now lead not with scenic views, but rather a social atmosphere where people can kind of let their hair down a little bit and attract a different type of audience to the game. And that's where we are now as we go to this tournament and the venue behind you. I always think if you build it, they will come. And Waste Management has just done a phenomenal job with this tournament. I used to live right down the road on Shea Avenue, not far from there. We had an academy there back in the Tour Academy days. I can remember sitting on the hill behind the green there to the right, where it's fully enclosed now. You could sit on that hill and you could watch shots coming in the 16, and then you could turn around and watch them hit the drive on 17, which kind of gives me the segue into, I think, this course that I've played many times. I think this course has the most underrated finishing stretch for just drama. 15, the par 5, you can see anything from an eagle to a bogey. 16 speaks for itself. What that hole is all about. I love 17.
I love 17. It's a great point. Yeah. Because
everyone,
right. 16's right behind me. It's everyone loves 16, and I get it is, it's the
your
only
heart
hole
racing.
really,
you got to deal with all the, like it's a whole different dynamic. Yeah.
You walk in the tunnel and you're like, the
awesome.
Stadium vibes and the scoreboard, everything is totally different. But like 17, as you mentioned, like that's a true risk reward par 4. Like that drive is phenomenal. And yeah, you mentioned like just the back 9 is littered with risk reward in a lot of like the range of outcomes on the back. It makes for a great finish. We're going to have some drama on Sunday. It's all we want, right? To watch, it matter. Ideally, we're holding a ticket with one of the guys that's involved, but we just want good golf leading into what's the best pregame Super Bowl show that's out there. It's great. They've done a great job marketing it and nailing it on the grounds here to make it what it is.
18, I feel like with the distance that the ball travels now has kind of, I feel like how far they can carry it now has taken a little bit of the sting out of 18. You got the pew bunkers on the left. I get that. And then the bunker on the right, but I just feel like they can just kind of now take it over that bunker and bomb it, and where before it felt like you had to fit it in between the bunkers. Now it just feels like as high as they can hit it and as far as they can hit it, it feels like they've conquered that hole a little more than maybe you would want on an 18th hole. And I don't know what you can do there to maybe make that a little different, but nonetheless, it's a great finishing hole. And it's a hole that it's a golf course that I think you have to elevate strokes gained off the tee. I mean, this is one where the guys are going to get the driver. They're going to let it out. The ball's going to go a long ways. If you've got distance and you can keep it in front of you, that bodes well. We've seen that from the champions here. We know Scheffler can get it done with the driver. We know Brooks can get it done with the driver. We know that Tony Finau has played well here. He should have won. I'll never forget that finish as long as I live. I don't think I've ever been so mad at a player because I had Finau to win, but I've never been so mad. And I love Tony Finau and his Boyd Summerhays. Like they're my favorite team. Is his finish that year to lose that tournament, going even par through the stretch that we just talked about. I had to go outside. It was like, oh my God, Tony, you have to put that one away. Anyway.
And that was still like, he hadn't put anything away in a while, right? So like we were, everyone wanted him to close the deal finally. And he had that And Webb, we know Webb loves this place. So he's
Webb loves this place, and you can get high odds in Webb. Ricky Fowler loves this place. Hideki loves this place. He's won it twice. He's an interesting look with some odds. The putting look. This is one of those places too, Ryan. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Like you don't have to be a great putter here. Like it feels like the greens here are pretty vanilla. They got the Bermuda, but with some other mixture. I mean, they're perfect. It just feels like even your bad putters tend to do okay. I was looking at Corey Connors, for crying out loud, who hasn't finished positive in strokes gained putting, and he's actually putted pretty good here.
Yeah, it's not part of anything that I'm statistically building. I want to look at like birdie opportunities because you're going to have to, to score here and to take advantage of the par 4s. We are dealing with a par 71 here, so you got to be able to score on those scoring holes. But like I do think it is neutralized. I don't want to give it any particular weight in terms of it being undulating, multi-tiered green surface. Like you mentioned, it is Bermuda, but it is like a very much a Bermuda hybrid with all the like rye
Florida
overseeing.
Bermuda.
Yeah, so it's even that where you know looking into like putting splits it's really hard because you really can't even pin down exactly what this surface is. So it's really not for me. It's ball striking. More so than anything. You mentioned like you got to be able to get it off the tee. You do have extra carry here. You do see long drives.
Yeah, big drives.
You know, guys driving above their baseline typically. Even part of that's probably altitude. So you got to be able to put yourself in these scoring positions because guys are going to be able to go low here. And you mentioned elevated event. The field's loaded.
It
is. You know, we're not dealing with the three guys at the top of the board that we had last week. You know, with Spieth, Hovland, and Fitz, and then really a massive teardrop. Like those guys are in. You can make the case that they're in the second or third tier in this event right now. So like this is a very, very difficult event. You got to be able to score. And we've seen too. Data Golf has a cool course history tool, and they show basically outside of Walleye and Augusta, the most predictive course history is TPC Scottsdale. And part of that for me is maybe it's the event, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it because there's a ton of unique design to this place. Again, someone who's played it multiple times, like whereas we know like there's just some unique spots in, you know, with Walleye, with the greens and, you know, the uneven lies. It's very similar to what we have at Augusta, where it feels like a lot of this is kind of straight right in front of you. I think a lot of maybe the course history piece is the atmosphere and how do you respond to that type of event? Whereas, 16 is 16, but like it's hard to not have that spill over to the other holes. Like that kind of vibe is going on elsewhere. And I think some guys thrive in that and some don't.
I think that's a good point. I would start there for sure. The weather's always consistent too. It's always the exact same. I mean, you never see a cloud. I mean, there's times. I think when Ricky won, I think that year there was some bad weather, but I mean, it just doesn't happen very often. I mean, you're looking at a chilly morning, the sun comes up, it warms up, and you never see a cloud. And that's the beauty of living there. All right, we get into it here. We start with let's just start with Rahm and McIlroy and do a head-to-head. And they're both, depending upon where you go right now, they're both around that 8-1. And we know Rahm's won a couple times here as of late. We know Rory wins over in Dubai, and they're 1-1A, right? I mean, and how about a duel of those two late on a Sunday? I mean, that would be pretty cool to watch, right? I mean, that would be pretty cool to see those two coming down the stretch. And yeah, John is the Arizona State alum. We know that, and people are going to be pulling for him. But Rory's so beloved that I think that the crowd would cheer just as loud for him as well. And I go head to head and I look at, all right, driver, it's a push. They're both dominant. They're top 2 or 3 in professional golf. Irons, I would give probably the edge to Rory slightly. Short game, I think I would give it to Rory. I think I would give the slight edge to Rory. The putter, I think I would give it to Rahm. Yeah. The course knowledge, obviously I'd give it to Rahm. And I just think all systems go, who has the highest ceiling, who's the better player, I think I'd give it to Rory. So if I had to bet one of the two coming in this week, I think I'd go McIlroy.
Same. It is, for all the points you laid out, I think that, that's even through these wins, we haven't seen like elite iron play and approach stuff from Rahm. It was obviously his bugaboo last year. What a great spot to be in, where you're just like consistently competing, and you're, off
with your B+ game,
just
or B game. Yeah.
These guys are just different cats. And that's why you mentioned they are very much in a tier of their own. I'm with you. When you look at kind of the ball striking, tee to green stuff from Rory over the last 6 months, even kind of pushing a year here, it's just been, I think, better than anyone else. So I do think you're kind of getting the number baked in where Rahm has the course history. I think it matters. Obviously the Sun Devil element and all those things. So I'm staying away from the top of the board.
Yeah. But if you had to bet one of the two, because those are the two, right? And I think I would lead on Rory. Rahm, look, the putter has arrived from where it was last year. The short game has definitely gotten better. He's still dominant off the tee. I think that if you had to really critique, you look at 125 to 150 yards, he's probably middle of the pack. You look at 150 to 175 of the yards, he's about middle of the pack. So it's, I think those are the opportunities probably for Rahm that he's trying to brush up on into this week. I'm with you. I'm not going to bet either one. You go down the board now, defending champion, and there's Scheffler. And I think what's really interesting with Scheffler, before we start grouping some guys together, is this is where it all started for him last year with the win here. And then he just started rattling off wins, including the green jacket. And the biggest thing that woke up was the putter. And he went on a stretch, and now it's kind of the same Scheffler. He's doing a lot of good things, but the putter is not cooperating. Do you think we see the same thing that happens last year, or lightning can't strike twice? Can't all of a sudden the putter just wakes up and off he goes?
Yeah, I think it can. Like this is very similar to what we just talked about with Rahm, right? What a spot to be in where we're going to talk about this guy who is, playing his best golf, but he's basically just like rolling out of bed and finishing in the top 10. He's just constantly in the mix. You mentioned it. It's just a lack of spike putting weeks. We just haven't seen it for a little bit from him. But the rest of the ball striking stuff is pretty immaculate. Yeah, I mean, look, we're back to the BMW third, second. He had a 45 at the CJ Cup. But then, Mayakoba third, Houston ninth, Hero second, TOC seventh, Amex 11th. He's just constantly in the mix, and we're right around, losing, maybe a half stroke per round on the greens. The rest of the ball striking stuff has been on point. So, yeah, I mean, you would know better how easy it is for these guys to turn it on. And like you said, we want like good baseline putting, but we just want these guys to be able to, especially the elite ball strikers, to piece together these spike putting weeks, get real red hot for a round or two, post a 64, 65, grind out some 68, 69s. And then all of a sudden you're very much in the mix. So there's some other guys I think that are down the board that are very similar. They're just baseline ball striking over a very long form is tremendous. And we just need some spike putting weeks. 15, 16s on Scotty. I can get behind. I did not. Yeah. But man, this is really, really, really hard to find reasons to cross guys off this week. So
11 to 1, 12 to 1. I think I'm going to pass. And then we'll go to the next stretch here. So we got Xander at 14, Finau 18, Morikawa 18, Cantley 20. I'll stop there. You can pick one. I'll give you Morikawa. I have signed up for what I see with the putter. And I talked about the changes that he made. I put a lot of stuff out there on Twitter on why I like it, why I think it makes sense, and more importantly than all that. And sometimes you see guys make wholesale changes. It doesn't work. You can see them fighting it. But I'll tell you what, I think Morikawa looks really, really comfortable with the changes. And I know his teacher pretty well, Stephen Sweeney. I think this is a pretty confident dude right now who went positive 5.7 putting at the Century, finished second, who went positive 1.4 at the Farmers and finished third. I'm going to take Morikawa, and I'm going to get, I got him at 19.
I've said it for weeks. Anyone that I talk golf with, Morikawa is winning either this or next week.
Okay.
He just, he just is. He's playing too well. We're a shot or two off of him being 10 to 1 and having 2 wins already this season. Like obviously we know what happened at Century. He was very much in the mix, at Farmers, and, Max just played better, and kind of put that away there. And look, you mentioned the putting stuff, even when he made the move to the claw a couple of years ago, obviously moved back and kind of lost it there. But like that early move was really beneficial to him, where he kind of was buying into it. And obviously the change back it seems to be the right one for him, but maybe it's something you said for kind of that change in him buying into it early before you start to see him miss. He was feeling pretty confident right now. I mean, what he did off the tee at Farmers, and I know you don't have to do that here. You can get away with spraying it a little bit here for sure. And obviously the rough's not as penal as it was at Torrey, but man, he was just painting it, Travis. I mean, like 90% good drive percentage. I think Tour, or like for the week, fairways was like 57%. He was just a tad under 80. I think he was like 79 and change, 34 out of 42 fairways. And he's just going to put himself in position. We know ball striking.
Mm-hmm.
We know the approach game is kind of back to where it was, at peak when he was winning, majors. We're there again. And if the putting, it's kind of the MO with Morikawa, right? If you are field average, we're getting field average putting weeks from Morikawa. He is in the mix, and we're seeing spike putting weeks right now with this new change. So only played here once at a 25th. That doesn't worry me a ton. I feel like he's just kind of built for this place and doesn't seem like a guy that would have a problem with all the hubbub. He's a young guy. I think he's probably fine with it. So I got 25 on him. I'm fine with, anything at like 18 still.
Yeah.
On Morikawa, I think is a great, great number. If he doesn't win, I hope he absolutely misses the cut and we can get a 30 at Riv. But he is just playing way too well for him to not be in the mix.
It does look like major championship winner Colin Morikawa again. You're getting that +7 range and approach, the driver. And I think what it was, he's got that fade back. And last year he was playing the draw, and he's not a guy that sees the draw. He just didn't fight it, kind of played it. And now I think they've put the time in. He's got the fade back. And the putting change is it's not just a grip change. I mean, it's a fundamental foundational change of how the putter head works as far as how far back and through and the pacing of the putter and all that. And he just looks like he's molded into it really, really nicely. So I'm gonna play there. We know Xander's probably going to be in the top 10. I mean, his body seems to be in good shape, there with the rumor of maybe some back issues there, but in pain, he looks good. You're looking at 2 top 3 finishes the last 2 years out of him.
Yeah.
We know Finau has had a run here in 2020, although he's also sprinkled in 3 missed cuts over the last 4 years. So I'll probably stay away from Finau and go with Morikawa. Cantlay, he lost in the playoff here last year. You're kind of waiting for that unconscious Cantlay, to occur. And you certainly wouldn't be surprised to see him, but you can't bet them all. So seems like we're in line with perhaps a Morikawa through that stretch. Now, I think as we get to the next guy, this is the guy that I'm hung up on. JT. Because you're getting good odds with JT, right? You're getting up into the 22, 23, 24, 25 range for Justin Thomas. Okay. So that gets people's attention. And the issue right now is the driver. It was really bad there a few weeks back. And then he cleaned it up in his last tournament. And my gut, like last week, I was on Sahith. I felt good about Thagala. I had some money on him. He finished 3rd. But this week, I just feel like JT is going to elevate here. Like JT has a little bit of that tiger in him where he can okay, I know I've got some issues. I'm working them out. But then all of a sudden you get that mojo and the energy of the crowd and people kind of get behind you. And all of a sudden he just goes from here to here, and all of a sudden the driver's running the fairways. He's making everything he looks at. He's unconscious. It's going to happen. We see it with JT every year. You add it all up. I played him. I played him. I know his driver's been an issue, but I played JT. I can't pass up on those odds.
Look, we don't talk pre-show. We talk pre-show. We don't talk and share cards pre-show, but we've probably done this half dozen times, and it's really remarkable how often this this happens where we are aligned. Look, I just can't pass on a 25 on Justin Thomas. I just can't. Yeah. He's just won me more money than really anyone else over the last handful of years.
Yep. He wins,
and he's not really a form guy. And I think what I mean by that is we've looked at some of his wins. They don't come necessarily where he's been knocking on the door all the time. Like the Players, he had missed the cut twice in his 4 starts previously. We've seen some limp ins at times with JT, and we've seen him in these type of events. This place in particular, as you mentioned, he had back-to-back thirds. He's basically always in the top 15 or so. When you're getting into team golf, whether it's the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup, where the vibe is a little different, and you're allowed to maybe let your hair down a little bit and show out a little bit, and it's accepted. He kind of likes these things. I think he likes these spots. And
I agree.
again, like long term, the approach stuff is not. He's still better than field average consistently. It's down from where we see his typical stuff. Very much similar to Morikawa or even Scotty, who we were just talking about. We haven't seen the spike putting weeks from JT.
No.
We know it's in there, and you can get absolutely white hot. So yeah, give me JT at 22, 25 every single time. Like I was really close. Xander was the toughest cross off for me at the top. Really close to firing on Xander at 16. When I saw 22s and then eventually a 25 on JT, I had to pull that trigger. It just is a guy that I can't not bet that number. Again, I think having more zoomed out long-term form is probably the best way to handicap golf, because you can get really caught up in, small little sample sizes and course fit or different things. And like, when you just look at ball striking, par 4 scoring, all the things that really, I think, matter here, it's just Justin Thomas. He's just kind of in that top tier group. And should he be,
and he's got a great track record here. I mean, he's been right there. He hadn't won, but he's always there. Yeah.
Back-to-back thirds, right? A couple years ago. And he's just always in the mix. So should he be 3x the number of Rory and Rahm? He just shouldn't, to me.
No.
And I know that those guys are playing better, and I know that they're better. But like, man, you can't convince me that JT is far off in class from those guys. And it's kind of the way that I build outright cards. I'm betting to a 2-win number. That makes the top of the board more expensive. So like, I need to be able to justify that. And it's like, should I bet Rahm or Rory, or can I bet 3 guys down here in the 25 mix? I'd rather have Morikawa and JT at 3 times the number.
And let me remind everyone that at the Century, he finished 25th near the bottom, and he was all over the place with the driver and this and that. Look, he just got married. Okay, so we come into that. We got some rust, hadn't played in 3 months, got married. Then we go to the Farmers and we clean things up considerably. We improve our ball striking off the tee by 3.5 strokes. We improve to the field our approach by 3, nearly just over 3. So, all right, rust is off. Honeymoon still out there a little bit. I'm feeling good. Now you inject me with this energy. Oh, and Rory is playing great, and Rahm is playing great, and you've got me at 25 to 1. Okay, you got my attention now.
100%.
You got my attention now. All right, I'm going to give you this next list of names. Tell me who you like. Homa 22, Sung Jae 26, Cameron Young 26, Tom Kim 28.
So a couple things here. So Cam Young was hung out there on DraftKings at a really bad number over the weekend. They were first to market. They reshuffled over the weekend. He was 45. He's second heading into the final round in Saudi, and hung at 45. I wouldn't bet the 26. The 45 was a bad number on Cam Young. So
you get that. You got to play it.
Got to play it. So not super useful if you're, just kind of entering into the market now. So we talked last time we met, I think, for the TOC, I told you, like, Homa's just my guy. I continue to back Homa. I think that people are scared of this number. It's a little short for me now,
right?
But I think this is where he belongs. I think part of it for me was like, he was just continuing to be priced at 30 or above. Doesn't make any sense for Max Homa. I think that he is kind of in this next tier. So a little short for me here, though it is a guy that has nice course history, fits very well. Maybe for me, like, Homa's kind of got a little bit of that Zalatoris piece where I feel like he plays really well on tough tracks, not just on the West Coast, not just California golf, obviously winning at Quail, winning at Potomac. Like, he can win big boy golf courses.
Yep.
So this isn't necessarily that. So maybe that's kind of the reason for me to stay away from Homa. Tom Kim, I don't know who said it. I think it's really smart. I wish I could give credit to the person that I read this quote, but backing Tom Kim on places that good Webb played at, basically, when Webb was in his peak and had success, that makes a lot of sense for me to want to think of spots where I want to back Tom Kim. I've already backed him at the Players. That market's out there. This is a little short for me for Tom Kim.
Yeah.
But I get why someone would be enamored with it, right? This is again the same spot where we're talking about the guys. Just we need spike putting weeks, and Tom Kim has showed that he has those. We know that he's going to like this atmosphere. 20-year-old kid. We saw what happened in the President's Cup. I think he fed off of that energy. I think he'll be a very popular, for the golf hardos out there in the crowd. They'll love cheering on Tom Kim here. So a little too short for me, but man, I'm not going to be surprised when it's, Saturday afternoon and Tom Kim is on the first page of the leaderboard, just throwing darts at these pins.
Now the kid's special. There's no question about it. And this is a good spot for him. I picked Sungjae out of there. I took M. I think it's a good course fit for him. I think he's got a lot of good stuff going on. So I'm gonna back M. You can't deny the play of Max Homa right now and how he is elevated. And I think you make a good point. He is where he belongs now with Cantlay. Cantlay's won 8 times on the PGA Tour. Max Homa's won 6. Now I think Cantlay, he's won maybe a couple bigger tournaments there with the playoffs. I'll give him that. But Max Homa has won some big boy golf courses and tournaments as well. Mm-hmm. So Riviera's, that's a big tournament, Genesis. Farmers Insured, that's a big Torrey Pines and that field. So he's done some really good things. So but I think you make a good point. I think Max Homa has now elevated himself into the Patrick Cantlay type of world, Tony Finau type of world, even perhaps a Xander Schauffele, who is a little higher that or better odds right now than that because of his success here. But so I'll probably I'm gonna go away from Homa. I'm gonna bet M. And as much as I like Cameron Young, he still hasn't won yet. And that's where we're at. He finished second in Saudi. It's like this kid's got to get a win at some point. When's it going to be? Tom Kim has 2 more wins than Cameron Young right now, which is weird to say. Now we go down to Victor Hovland at 30. I don't want to hit the panic button, but I'm a little worried about Vic. I'm a little worried about him. And I've been kind of going down this path a little bit at the end of last year. And just like, what am I seeing with Victor Hovland right now? The driver hasn't been as dominant. Iron game to me feels, I don't know, it's not going the right way. Yeah. And what you're seeing. And I've been kind of catching some wind that over the off season, he had to work on some things in the swing to get the fade to be a little bit tighter, get the left miss out a little bit more. Around the green, I don't know, incremental improvement, I guess you could convince me on. Still probably not where he would like it to be. And the putter's been just kind of meh. The putter's been like basically probably taking more pressure than it needs. I'm just a little worried about Hovland. I don't know why. When I add it all up, I know he's a great player. He's going to work himself out, but I just feel like it's kind of just, settling downward right now. It's not going the way it should be with a young dynamic player. Am I wrong?
I don't disagree. I think that, the driver has to be a weapon for him. I think it's kind of where he's, built his game around. You mentioned the approach. It's just hasn't been as sharp in terms of where we're looking at the other guys, the guys we already spoke about and guys that are in this tier. And I think mentally we kind of have him there. And, again, he's still 30 at some spots. So he definitely is close to that, that top tier. 74th in approach over the last 36 rounds. It's not great. No. He's the opposite of, we're talking about Max Homa. Vic's won a couple times, but he's winning on coastal courses during the swing season. We just haven't seen him really, outside of the Open, which was, surprising because the form had been really kind of treacherous before that. We just don't see him on the mix a lot on loaded fields like this. And I think that the baseline skills, the pedigree, it's there. It will come together at some point, but I think there's enough there right now where he's kind of an easy cross off, even as this number kind of floats out there and gets a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm with you. I would have loved to seen him just kind of curb stomp the field last week at the AT&T, which, not a great fit for what we want him to do in terms of ball striking and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think he's so much better. Yeah.
Torrey, to me, he fits better at Torrey.
Totally
he doesn't play it.
Yeah. I wanted to see him at Torrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. With you. He's an easy cross off. It's weird to say, but for me, he is. I'm not going to play Vic at 30. I'm not going to happen. All right. Matsuyama, He's won twice. Let me go run of names here. Tell me who you like. Matsuyama 35, Fitzpatrick 35, Spieth 40, Burns 45, and then Thagala, who we saw finish second here at 50.
So I also, at the same time, I bet the Cam Young number at 45. I backed Sam Burns at 55. Just a bad number. Again, multiple guys similar to JT. The recent form has not been good. He's not played good golf. The ball striking has been not great. He's been kind of all over the place. To me, a part of it is just it's a number play. There are still 50s out there, so I shop around versus some of the 45s and 40s that are out there. You could probably still get a 50 on Burns, but look, he's a winner.
Yeah,
he's won in strong fields. Obviously, beating Scotty in a playoff, and he obviously loves playing, Florida golf, and this isn't pure East Coast, Southeast Bermuda or anything like that, but we know he can get white hot with the putter. So again, this is a guy that kind of feels to me that we're getting a massive discount on the recent form, and it's hard to argue that he shouldn't be lower on the board, but just who I think he is and his baseline is better than a guy that's in the 50s, knowing that he can win golf tournaments in this field is not too much for him. So, yep, you could poke all sorts of holes in form, but backing out a little bit, last 100 rounds last year, you're going to find some positive Sam Burns stuff. And again, we know you need to score here, and he can score.
I didn't play anybody in that stretch, and that's tough for me because I'm a Sam Burns guy and have been for years. Gosh, you just look at, there's something about this place that doesn't match Sam Burns's eye. I just, his recent form, I just feel like there's something here that he doesn't like. And of course, he's won Valspar twice. He won Charles Schwab, and I'm missing one. He won Sanderson Farms. So all that screams the South, the heat, the Bermuda, and his comfort zone, right? Being an LSU kid and growing up in Louisiana and all that. So it's hard for me to pass on Burns. He's usually an automatic bet. I would have probably played him at that 55 number for sure. But this stretch of names, I would probably play Hideki, not so much because he's won twice. I mean, obviously that's an obvious. I think we have to give Hideki credit that his putting has not been the issue. Like his putter has definitely improved over the last year. Now he's not like an elite putter by any stretch, but Hideki, it's funny once you get that label of you're a bad putter, it's hard to shake it.
Yeah. Sure.
Like Tony Finau, it's not like, look, Tony Finau's not a bad putter. Like now, situationally, he was okay. I'll go with you there, but like he's a pretty damn good putter, folks. Like his stats are not.
Been one of the best in the tour for the last 6 months.
Right.
Strokes gained putting, he's been great.
Hideki's got a decent run going here with the putter. His driver was a mess. So anyway, I don't know. I know Fitz won the U.S. Open. I still haven't seen enough with his iron game yet there to get too excited with this stretch. Spieth seems to be a little bit of a mess right now, if you ask me. Apparently, I was the only person that didn't know that he follows his club head back as he takes it back and then recenters his eyes on the ball and hits it. I was watching that in the studio last week, and I rewind him. I've never noticed him watching, and then he bring his eyes back and hit it. I'm like, that's new. Like he hasn't always done that. He looks like he's playing golf swing to me again.
Yeah,
he's playing golf swing. I'm going to pass on Spieth. And as we kind of work down, I'm going to pass on Burns probably, but I didn't get him at the 55 number, so that's certainly understandable. I'm going to pass on Thagala. I'm going to pass on Jason Day too. And that's hard for me because I've been on the Jason Day train, pumping him up here for the last 6 months and seeing big progression out of him with what he's doing. But Jason Day doesn't play here usually. So that tells me, I don't know if Jason Day's signing up for the, what do we want to call it? That happens there in the stands and whatnot. The silliness, as you said, if we will. Jason Day usually doesn't play here. Now he is. He's playing well, but I'm not going to put money on him to win. I don't think even what we've seen. He didn't play AT&T.
Yeah, that was surprising. I thought he would have played AT&T, but I think the purse probably brought him here instead. So yeah, the speed thing too, like even when he was kind of, as you said, like swing watching and trying to do some stuff in years past when he was kind of off, he still played AT&T really well. So for him to really kind of stub his toe last week was something that is of note to me. So yeah, the numbers starting to get out there and get long. And I've seen some smart people that I respect in the space talk about Spieth because that number is too long. But I do think there's something in between the ears right now.
Oh, there's no question.
That's enough to keep me away from him.
Probably
a good target in matchups. Someone that you're going to probably be able to get some of these top tier guys because the course history is decent and there's some other stuff here. People like to bet Spieth. I think you'll probably be able to target him in matchups and get a pretty good number against some other people.
Yeah, there's no question. Spieth is not in a great spot right now with his game. And so I there's no way I would play him here. Jason Day, look, I said at the beginning of the year, I predicted he'll win. I just like the direction he's heading. I see his iron game really excelling. I see his putter coming back to that elite level. We're kind of waiting on a short game a little bit and how elite it was back when he was the number one player. I just love where Jason Day is going with his game. I'm curious to see how he does here, to be quite honest with you. I think if Jason Day comes out and finishes in the top 10, everybody better take note. Jason Day, people forget this dude won 12 times, major champion, fought a lot of back injuries. And now in his resurgent is developing, in my opinion, could be even a better iron game.
It was a couple of years there where he was always in the mix. And we spoke earlier this year and you kind of, turned my eye to him. So I've had some finishing position bets on Jason Day. Loved it. I would have loved like a 25 or a 28 last week at Pebble on Jason Day. But he's not going to make the card here. There's too much firepower at the top. So, and we're kind of at the point too, and I'd love to get your thoughts. Like we're going to have this all year in these elevated events, like we have at the majors. And it's, we see long shots win and what we would consider bombs in the outright betting market. I have a hard time thinking a bomb's going to win here, Travis. I know that there are some guys that can compete. There's some bad numbers out there in terms of like longer shots, but in terms of like, it's not just that you need Rahm or Rory to kind of not put it together for 4 days. We just talked about the Scotty, Xander, JT, Morikawa tier. Like you need so many guys if you're a Corey Connors or I did bet KH Lee at 95. Like it's just a bad number.
I did too. I like KH Lee. Yeah.
Right, the approach. The approach game has been good. He actually he's won. He wins a golf tournament every year. We know that he wins there. And actually the field there last year was really strong. So we know that he can compete. Again, you're going to, pushing 30 at Craig Ranch, but like, I don't know, occasionally ball striking pretty good. Do I think he wins? No, but I'm going to sprinkle some money on some losers here at bad numbers. Cause you want to have a sweat. I didn't think Brandon Todd was going to win last week. And it was, an 80 felt like a bad number. And sometimes you got to sprinkle and just have it. Cause maybe you get the cash out option or you get some sort of way to get access to it. I feel like handicapping it, landing on a guy that feels like he's showing up in a tier that he shouldn't be. I need to take action on that. I need to trust the work that I'm doing and be able to back that up with some money. So probably a better finishing position bet, probably another guy that's better in matchups than an outright ticket, but he's, kind of down the board for me and thought he made some sense.
Yeah. Cause we're getting, now we're getting into the 50 plus range and it would be highly unlikely probably in this field at this tournament that even considering its history, which has never seen a field like this, but a Scheffler winning, a Brooks Koepka winning, a Webb winning when he was playing great golf, Ricky Fowler winning when he was playing really good golf. Gary Woodland wasn't that far off in, Hideki. So like, it's not like we're just getting a bunch of weird names here. Like we do at AT&T when you have like the likes of Vaughn Taylor winning and Nick Taylor, all due respect. It's just, this is a different tournament and names have risen to the top, and now we've got even more names, so it's highly unlikely that we're gonna see someone in this range. But we have some people listening that are like us. They want a little sweat. They want the long shot. So as we look down, I get asked all the time about Ricky Fowler. I've been vocal about what he's done over the last 3 years, but the reality is it's the present time Ricky now moving forward, and Ricky I think is moving in the right direction. I do I know he's played well here. This is a good spot for him. He's won. But I would like to see a little more from the putter with Ricky. You know, he did putt better last week. I watched him at American Express. It looked like he was searching a little bit when I was there. So I want to see a little more stability with the putter with Ricky. Can he get back to that elite level? Because he's going to need to if he's going to win again. And I'll give you and I'll say this too. I'm really curious to see how Taylor Montgomery does in this field too. You know, we've seen Montgomery play excellent golf. He's had there's been a couple fields here or there, but nothing like this. Star power. I love this rookie. You know, you're going to get it with the driver. You know, you're going to get it with the putter, elite level stuff. Question is, when you get into a field like this, you've got to be better with the irons, and you got to be better in the approach game if you're going to win a tournament like this against these types of boys. Because let me tell you something, strokes gained approach, they know what that's all about. When you're talking about the John Rahms, the Rory McIlroys, the JTs, et cetera, et cetera.
I feel like, and you can tell me what your thoughts are. I feel like where we're at with Taylor Montgomery right now is like, it's like a better version of like a 2017, 2018 Sam Burns, where like the driver and the putter are there. Yeah. You're like, man, this kid can do this. If we can get, like, we always want the approach game to be kind of the baseline skill, because we see it's the most predictive. It's the thing that's most sticky week over week. It's the thing that matters most in terms of playing winning golf consistently. So we'd rather have that be less of a variable week to week. But when you have the other things in spades, like this kid can absolutely mash, and it's impossible to argue. Like putting is noisy, and it can, in terms of the strokes gained metrics, but like when your baseline consistently is this high, you need credit. You deserve credit. We can't throw that out and say like, oh no, it's all putting. It's like, well, guess what? That's what matters. At the end of the day, like this kid puts himself in some spots where he's going to get 10 to 15 footers. He's going to make them more than the average player. And that's a wild thing to say in terms of looking at this field. So he is definitely a guy that I want to continue to back. He's probably going to be more so until we see it. It's going to be hard to back at some of these, elevated designated events that we have here. It's too short of a number, but man, again, another guy that if he's just rolling it really well, I would not be surprised Thursday afternoon. It's like, oh, crap, Taylor Montgomery is, on pace for 63. He's, put it all together, and here we are. He's making everything.
Yeah, exactly. Burns, it's an interesting comparison. When Burns came on, I felt like he had length, but I felt like he was a polished iron player more so than Montgomery.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I felt like his iron game was better and he could putt. Montgomery is dominant off the tee. I mean, dominant. And then he can putt like no one else. I mean, he's the best putter on tour. So, but his iron game is not clean. So a little bit different from that standpoint. Burns has a little bit of that dog in him too. I think, down the stretch, you can see it. So it's going to be interesting with Montgomery. I love him. I think he's great for the tour. He lopes around like a young DJ out there. I spent some time with him at the American Express for the show that we do called The Cut. I mean, the guy is like a gem. I mean, he's just awesome. He's got so many stories growing up at Shadow Creek in Vegas. I mean, he's just like, he's interesting too. And he's just super polite and just doesn't feel like what he's doing. It doesn't feel too big. He just kind of, I'm just kind of, see ball, hit ball, hit it 330 in the air, no problem. And then go find it and get it on the green and make a putt. So he's going to be fun to watch as we get down in the other odds. All right. I'll give you 3 names I'm looking at, just long shots here. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Can't believe I'm putting Corey Connors' name in there. Look, here's the thing with Connors.
Yeah.
So he's playing pretty good golf, first and foremost. Putter is the problem. We know that. He's a ball striking machine. He's putted pretty good here over the last couple of years. And when I mean by pretty good, it's positive, and I'll take that.
That's positive. For Connors. That's great.
I'll take positive 0.4. Positive. And that's damn good for Connors. And I didn't think I saw a positive 2.2 in there last year. So we've got some vibes here, right? Like if there's a place, I know this is an elite field, but we're searching. Connors, I know, can give it to me. He can go unconscious with his ball striking, right? And then if we can have a positive 3.5, positive 4 putting, just maybe. So I'm considering that. Herbert is interesting to me. He's an interesting dude to me. Like he played well at Dubai. I don't think I'll put a win ticket there, but just maybe like a top 20. And then I really like the way Chris Kirk is playing golf. Chris Kirk is playing good golf. Why not Chris Kirk here? He was third at Sony, third at American Express. He was 14th here last year. I'll sprinkle Kirk right now as we come on. He's 110-1. Why not?
Yeah, right. I mean, I gave you a loser. I'm going to give you one more
okay.
in a little bit. But yeah,
give it to me. And KH, you mentioned him. That's he's 110 too. Yes.
Yeah, Kirk. Kirk's a guy that I bet a lot over the years. The sticky stuff. It's a poor man's Corey Connors in a lot of ways. Yes. He's just the ball striking is great. So Connors is another guy. Like it's definitely he's on the card. He'll be a finishing position bet. You mentioned the form has been really, really good. Solid finishes, over the swing season for Connors, and we haven't seen him since Hawaii, but they played really well both of those stops. So, yeah, I mean, you said it. We've said it for a handful of guys this week. The ball striking is, I think, what matters here. You want the spiked putting weeks, and for Connors more so than even like Morikawa and JT, who we talked about earlier, the top tier. The supreme version of Corey Connors. You just want field average putting, and he's going to be in the mix because we know the ball striking is going to be pretty immaculate. I mean, he's accurate. You wouldn't say Corey Connors is long off the tee, but he's above average off the tee, and the approach game can be absolutely nails. So, no problem with taking some bullets down on Connors if you want to bet him as your favorite loser of the week. Who maybe he'll top 5. I think that's probably the best way because these guys they're good. But can they win? The one that I want to get your thoughts on is Shane Lowry. I don't know about you. I was comfortable firing at 30s and 25s on Shane Lowry last year, who just flirted with, late Sunday stuff consistently, was always in the mix and struggled to close the door. Honda was painful. I had a great number on Lowry there, and obviously continued to be in the mix for most of the spring. The swing scene on DP World Tour, I think, is a little bit more of good golf. Those are bigger, better fields. The BMW played really well. He's just too long. Like he's like 80.
80, yeah.
I don't know. I just think that the
major champion winner.
It's too long. There's one other guy too that's in this mix. There's 110s on Billy Ho, and he hasn't been playing great.
Yeah,
he loves this place. Yeah. This is another guy that President's Cup, that type of vibe, match play, things that are a little different. Like I feel like he's a guy that we know Billy can get in his head, but I think that sometimes works well for him. When you look at what he's done here, is 2 top 10s in the last 3 years.
Yep.
Hasn't been playing great golf, but again, just President's Cup team member. He was won against big fields and Memorial. We know we prefer Billy to get on, in the Southeast. We'd rather have him in Florida, all those things for sure. We talked about this being a Bermuda mix, so maybe there's something there. But I think Billy likes this event, and I think he likes the hubbub. So 110, do I think Billy's winning? Probably not. But Billy, again, when you think of where he's priced, you're going to get some probably pretty good matchup numbers on him. Finishing position bet might be pretty favorable in terms of, again, being derived off of his outright number. So I was surprised he did show up in some long-term stuff for me, and seeing him down there at 110, I just think that I know some people just don't like him, right? We talk about betting your guys, not a lot of I'm a Billy Ho stan, I'm going to bet him regardless, but 110, similar to Shane Lowry, these guys are just better than that in terms of the rest of the guys that they're priced around.
I would probably lean towards Lowry, who hasn't played here much. So again, why? Why does he elect to miss out here? Is this not his cup of tea? We know it is Billy. Mm-hmm. And Billy finished 6th last year, and he putted fantastic on this stretch. And I like you, I prefer Billy like Sam more over here on the East Coast. And the driver, certainly he's been fighting the driver. There's no question about that. Yeah. There's some things there that he's fighting in his golf swing. He almost withdrew, or did he withdraw earlier in the year because he was hitting it so bad? Like he was just so bad that I don't think he ended up withdrawing, but
it wasn't good.
It wasn't
I don't
good. It
think he
was Sony.
withdrew.
I think it was Sony.
Yeah,
and
he missed the cut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we haven't
that's the
seen him
last time
since.
out.
Yeah, last time out.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really
Why
bad.
he's 110.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's where we are. And then Shane played in Dubai, right? He was there, and he did. And he played, as I understand, top 10, right? He was right there. He was leading. He had a bad final round. Just the bad final round was all it was. Yeah, I think I would go
some
Lowry.
Other stuff too in the swing was.
I think I'd go Lowry.
So that's, those guys just class wise, I think are better than some of the other guys down there. And that's a good
point. I mean, you start hundreds.
Yeah,
Lowry's 80.
80. Yeah, Lowry's still lower. 80. We're
right.
Some of those guys around there are they? You mentioned Kirk, like he's playing great. I'm not necessarily a Lucas Herbert guy. We're paying a little bit of the tax on Keith Mitchell, who I think fits well here and is playing good golf. Alex Noren seems to like it. Brian Harmon. I don't know. I think that just Shane Lowry's better than those guys and has definitely been better than those guys over the last calendar year. So we're getting a little bit of a discount.
Never thought I'd see the day. Webb Simpson is 300-1.
I know.
Never thought I'd see the day. That's a former champion here, folks. Just 3 years removed. I mean, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. And I think he's healthy. I could pick Sam Ryder and make the cut, maybe sneak up there. He's had some form here. He's played pretty good golf. Sure. I don't think I'd play him to win, but can he keep his consistent play or his good play going? But yeah, man, 300-1 for Webb. That's just crazy.
That's
Webb Simpson. I just feel like yesterday he's running away with the Players Championship, lapping the field. Garrick Hago, 250-1. Hago's found something.
That's my loser. That's my last loser, Travis.
Okay. There's your boy.
250 is he's not winning this golf tournament, but I'm like 250. He shouldn't be 250. He's playing pretty good.
He is.
He played once here, and played well. I don't know. He lost it for sure for a bit last year, but I think we have to be encouraged of what we've seen recently, and the ball striking has been really good. And that's what he kind of, when he ascended a couple of years ago, was playing overseas, and then came over here and won some golf tournaments. He shouldn't be 250. So I took a stab at 250. Again, you're better off probably betting him in a matchup. You're better off betting him in a finishing position bets than wasting $20 on an outright ticket. But I've spent $20 on worse things, so I'm very fine with Garrett can go at 250. It feels, again, what we're arguing is he probably should be 150 instead of 250. But we're talking about percentage, less than 1% chance of winning the golf tournament. But sometimes the number's bad, and you gotta have it. If he capped it and he's popping, I'll feel really bad if he's in the top 10, top 20, and I don't have the ticket.
Yeah, it's good to see him kind of work himself out of the hole that he was at. When he won at Palmetto, and then he came over from the European Tour where he had, I think 2 wins in 3 weeks or something. It was really good play, and then he comes over here and he wins, and and then he struggled, which a lot of young players do, but now he's working himself out. I think he's a hard worker, so it's good to see him show some fight and some life in where he is right now. I could see him certainly making the cut here and finishing up there. All right, we're down in the weeds now. I think we're on the same page that this is going to be a good tournament. Historically, you get some pretty good leaderboards here anyway. I think we talked about the Final Four. This is a pretty underrated golf course, people. I mean, it really is. It's a good golf course. It's a great atmosphere. It's going to be big time energy. The stars are here. We're just missing Will, right? We're just missing Zalatoris.
Will's the only eligible top 50.
The only one we're missing.
Yeah. Which was interesting. Maybe there's something there too. Obviously, he had a rough go of it in the second round at the Farmers, but they can each select their one designated event to not be a part of. And I'd like to see Will here, but again, Will in these spots where we're going to get to the teens, high teens, it's not necessarily always Will's MO. maybe like him at harder tracks. So maybe that's part of why, or
That's a good
maybe
point.
there's some swing stuff or some back stuff. He just wants a rest at this point of the year. So yeah,
I hope it's
it's
not
loaded, man. No, he's
not
good.
the back. I hope it's not the back for him. I hope he's not. Could be just more course for him, and like he starts weighing out all the elevated events. And I mean, he's a young guy. Like, come on, Phoenix Open, lean in. He's not I've talked to Will a couple. Didn't strike me as a big party guy, that is gonna lean into this and get excited and pop a beer maybe or something, or pull your shirt up like Harry. How does Harry Higgs not get one of the sponsor exemption? Come on, Waste Man. That's the only damn mistake they've ever made, probably.
No, I know. We got to have Higgs. He's like custom made for this place, if nothing else. He's been playing good golf too.
I know. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Davis Thompson, who got it, who is on the podcast on Thursday, by the way, he got a sponsor exemption, and who, if you're looking for a great driver, young player, he's that guy. So he's on the podcast Thursday. Hunter Mayhem's tomorrow, who won the Phoenix Open back in 2010. That's gonna be really interesting to catch up with him. He's been pretty vocal of late on Twitter. But Davis got one. JB Holmes got one, right? Former champion. And then who am I missing? The Wilson Staff guy.
You know better than I would.
Ricky Barnes.
Okay, Ricky Barnes. Okay.
Ricky Barnes got one. How do you give it to Ricky Barnes and not?
No offense, Ricky, and your family. We want Harry Higgs. We don't want Ricky Barnes here.
I'm gonna finish with this. Ready? Let's see if this fires you up for Bubba's new team, LIV.
Goat, golfers on a team. You're welcome.
Oh, wait. I got to start it over. Here we go.
Hey, guys, Bubba Watson here. Why range goats? Easy. I got to go to the range and practice for my team. Goat, golfers on a team. You're welcome.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, guys, Bubba Watson here. Why range goats?
Oh, man. Where do we...
The Bubba stuff is so good, funny. I mean, it's the team thing and his son with the
all about the team, folks.
All
it is. Give these guys a choice. Hey, play individually for more money or team golf for slightly less money. Which way are you going to go?
It's the hypocrisy around wanting to play less golf and spending more time with your family, where all these guys are just trying to get into the DP World Tour or so they can play more events. Like Patrick Reed's not playing less golf.
No,
it's
in Asia.
It's just insane to me.
It is.
And their schedule is not great. It's they have some back-to-back real travel stuff. And I don't know, it's,
then you try to sprinkle in a few tournaments to try to get some official World Golf ranking. It's nuts. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, it's this year is going to be interesting with it, on TV and this and that. But I think they've got they've plucked the guys that I think they were able to pluck. Maybe there's another big name here or there, like Cameron Young, perhaps, going over there and finishing second. Harold Varner did the same thing a year ago, where he went over there and finally gave in to the money. So weird times, man. But watch it. It's entertaining. Nonetheless, that stuff, I watch it. It's so silly and just bizarre that you just have to laugh. I mean, it's I laugh every time I watch that video.
It never moves the needle. I would think that if they didn't, and again, I know they didn't have it on TV, but if you can't really have the buzz in the first year, we'd have events. And who won? I don't know who won. It didn't resonate. It didn't matter. Mm-hmm. Talking about Rose at the top with him winning last week, kudos to Rose for not going. Kudos to Ricky. Those guys very easily could have cashed in pretty. Rose is, I think, the poster boy for what they've done in terms of, Europeans a little later in the career, guys that can sell some tickets and, put on a marquee. So it's good to see those guys have, stayed around and fought for it a little bit here in the tour. Yeah. So, we're probably, more pro tour guys. And, there's some people that, why are you caping up for the PGA Tour? They don't care about you. They don't care about me. That's fine. But I like having the best in one spot competing. And, these guys have made their career off of what the tour has built for them. So staying and seeing it through the downtimes, I think is admirable for noted not Justin Rose guy, who very well easily could be over there cashing massive checks.
How good's the Masters going to be, though?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's just going to be. It's going to be must-watch TV. All right, check him out at Ryan Noonan. BetSperts, you're the man. Appreciate your time, man.
Always, buddy. Thanks, Travis.
PXG has done it again with the launch of a new lineup of drivers, fairways, hybrids, and irons. The new Gen 5 golf clubs deliver significantly increased MOI, faster ball speeds, longer distances, and tighter dispersions, all coupled with the exceptional feel and sound golfers have come to expect from PXG. Schedule your custom fitting or buy online at pxg.com.